Yeah, fast forward.
John, you can go over it as well, because we're running
A little ahead? Okay, thanks. Well, this is a talk inside of a talk, so I apologize in advance. And a little bit of this is ramblings of a person who's been around far too long to even be up here talking about it. So if I can get to the beginning of this. I want to take everybody back, and I'll try to make this like 2 or 3 minutes at most. Take everybody back like 3 decades to the beginning, and this was the beginning. As some of you actually know, 1989 was a signature year. Very big things happened here. A couple of things also happened in 1989 that some of you may or may not be aware of. Probably most of you are not. A cool little trick came into the world. It's called this multilinear extension on a hypercube trick. And it is kind of part of the moon math that goes into kind of the zero-knowledge proof world. You don't have to know anything about it. If you've seen some of the talks earlier and you're interested in ZK, you might get into this in depth. But it was a fascinating time to be around in. And for me, that was back in the day when thank you to the SBC groups for organizing this, when I was actually a student at this point in time. And so this was a great deal of fun to participate in, to say, wow, we can use some of these math tools to do amazing things. And the amazing things that we wanted to try doing then were like what Daniel was just talking about. How do you verify super huge computations? This is what Nexus is doing. Back then, what we were working on was how would you take a computation like a tax return and delegate it privately to someone else. What this MLE and a hypercube trick did back then was it helped to solve a problem called delegating private computations like a tax return. It turned out to solve pretty much any computation you could calculate. You could solve things called sharp P, permanent, P-space size computations suddenly became within reach. And this was incredibly, incredibly fun if you were a theoretician. There was no application to this at all back then. So the fun part about this, and there are really 3 summers that I want to talk about, one then, one in the middle, and one happening right now. The fun part then in the summer of '89 is that it took about 6 months to go from this cute little math trick to, by way of a journey, to solving the permanent, which is a specialized problem on top of matrices, matrix calculations, to ultimately solving IP equals P space. So in the summer of '89, nobody knew what the potential of zero-knowledge proofs were, or interactive proofs, I want to say. Nobody knew what you could or couldn't prove. People thought, well, yeah, you could prove NP. Well, it turned out within the space of 6 months, you could actually reach proving P space, an enormously complex set of computational problems. Okay, so where do we go from there? 20-year jump. Nothing happens. Okay, nobody cares about zero knowledge. Nobody does any interactive proof stuff. That's not true. Succinct calculations come in on the theory side, but nobody's implementing this stuff anywhere on the planet. It's not really applicable. Come to 2009, there is another kind of summer that happens. You can start mining for pizza. Okay, blockchain happens. In 2009, instead of mining for pizza, I was actually mining for Schrodinger protein folding, which is another kind of alternate distributed calculation, which I think is extremely fascinating, and Daniel's a fan of this as well. So you could be doing one of 2 things that were actually very exciting at the time. And you can see which one actually became productive at the time. All right. I wanted to mention this very quickly because Daniel was talking about instrumentation. The big reason I hope everybody is in this room is that people are fans of coding. And one of the most important things about this second summer, from my point of view, is that people are actually coding cryptography, writing things, running things, sending them out to other people. This is something I was working on at the time, but I think it's relevant in this world because there's a lot of infrastructure that has to be built in order to make these things, make proof systems cheap and affordable and widely available and easily used. So, okay, so that's summer of 2009. We'll go fast forward. Okay, well, recap of 1989. We get to the third summer that I just wanted to mention briefly in the end here, which is that we're now at a point where ZK is within the reach of actual everyday computation. It's still an extremely hard problem. There's still a ton of moon math that's in there. The moon math is getting simpler and simpler, like the hypercube, like building. People sit down, write a lot of code, and try to figure out how it works. So you can be like Ed Felton, you can say optimism and ZK together is better than ZK. So I would say being optimistic about ZK is the right place to be right now. There's a lot of work to be done here. Building it is how we're going to discover how to make it cheaper and within the reach of actually launching it around the world. I invite everybody to participate, builders, business people as well. This is what we're doing at Nexus, and to revive something horribly banal from the 80s, 90s as well. I think we're about to find some new realms of truth to cover as well. So thank you very much.